You saw the unboxing, you've seen me using them. So let's set up the Godox TT685 today in the studio. Hello everyone, my name is Alex Silva and today let's set up the Godox TT685 Flash. As I mentioned before, yes, you saw me unboxing it some time ago when I opened a big, well, not so big, but a box with a lot of goodies. And this was one of the flashes that I included in that box. Actually, two of these. And Godox has gained a lot of popularity as a flash system in the last few years. So I thought it would be interesting for you that you know how to set it up, because it has a lot of functions. I'm not going to cover everything, but some of the most important functions that you may need and some of the very interesting features of Godox. So let's start with something very simple. In terms of batteries and power, this is just a tiny bit unusual. Coming from other flash brands, let's say from Canon that I used most of the time, but I also used some other brands. It turns out that usually the batteries are clustered in a 2x2 formation. However, this was a bit unusual for me that in the Godox system, or at least in this model, the batteries are set up as a line. So nothing super unusual, but different. Anyway, so how do we set it up? Well, when we first turn the flash on, it is in TTL mode. This means that this flash will communicate with the camera, as long as it is compatible with the camera. Will communicate with the camera in order to set up the power settings, so that it exposes correctly according to the distance and things like that. It's good, but there's not a lot of fun there, and especially if anything goes wrong, it's kind of difficult to debug. So anyway, that's one of the disadvantages of TTL, but as an automatic system, yeah, it may help in a lot of situations. There's another thing that is also set to automatic. The zoom value in the flash, it's also set to automatic. When the flash is in TTL mode, we can set up the flash exposure compensation. You just press this button and then turn the wheel. If you turn it clockwise, you are increasing the power, the exposure compensation. If you turn counterclockwise, you are decreasing the exposure compensation, and it goes from -3 to +3 stops in 1/3 stop increments. So let's set it to 0. And you can also change the zoom of the flash. You can leave it as automatic. It will adjust automatically according to the lens that you are using, or you can set a manual value here. You just press the zoom function and zoom button, and then you can set a value here. If you turn clockwise, you will increase the zoom. If you turn counterclockwise, you will decrease the zoom. If we press the mode button once, we'll change to manual mode. The default setting for manual mode, when you first turn the flash on, the power setting is set to 1/128th, so it's the lowest power of the flash, and the zoom is also in automatic mode. You can change the zoom again from 14 all the way to 133. Those are the values that apply to this particular flash that is compatible with Fujifilm. It is set to compensate for the equivalence or crop factor of the camera. And we can set up the flash power, just turning the wheel. If you turn it clockwise, you are increasing the power. If you turn it counterclockwise, you are decreasing the power. And it goes from full power to 1/128th. That's great. In terms of being a manual flash, this is pretty much expected. That's awesome. No problem there. And so we can set up the flash zoom and the power. There's another thing we need to consider. This flash, as many others, can be used off camera. If you follow my work, well, a lot of my work is in terms of portraits, and especially doing adding some sort of light to the scene, so I mostly use speedlights. What we're going to do now is that we're going to set the flash to be used in off-camera mode. And for this you have, in this particular case, two options. One, you can use optical slaves. If you have seen some of the previous videos in this channel, you know that this is one of the ways for you to send a simple signal to the flash, and it's super simple in this particular case. You just press this button once, and you can now see the S1 symbol on the screen. This means that this flash is waiting for another flash to fire, and then this will fire. It's as simple as that. And it will fire with the current settings that you have in manual mode. In this case, for example, I'm firing at 1/128th of power and at 133 millimeters. If the camera or the flash that you are using to trigger this one is set as in red eye reduction mode, you will need to use this flash in S mode or servo mode 2. You just press this button, and this changes now to S2. This means that this flash will wait for 2 flashes to fire. The first one will be the one used to reduce the red eye effect or make an initial light metering, things like that. And then with the second flash firing, this will flash. So that is a very simple way for us to use this flash as an off-camera flash, and it works. However, the value that I see in the Godox system is that most, if not all, their speedlights have an integrated radio transmitter and receiver. So it's a transceiver. So this can work as a master controlling other flashes, or this can work as a slave receiving orders from another master or a dedicated controller. So in order to get into in order to use radio frequency and not the optical slave, we need to press this button and keep it pressed. Just once. And it gets us into the master mode. This means that this flash can control other flashes. And how do we know? Well, we see the different groups listed that we're going to control. And this is the master, so we can set the power and the mode that this flash will fire, and then the mode and power that other groups will fire on. Let's get to it. So we can choose one group. We start with the master, and let's start with the master. We start with the master. Then we set the mode. The master can work in TTL mode or in manual mode or not fire at all. Let's set it to manual, and I like that value. I want this to fire at this flash to fire at 1/4 power. Then group A will fire in manual mode at 128, and then group B will work in TTL mode. But then I want this to have a flash exposure compensation of 1 stop. And then I want group C in manual mode, but at a different power of 1/16 power. All of this working. There's another thing that we need to consider, that in order for us to communicate with other flashes, all the flashes that we're going to fire, including the master, need to be in the same channel. We can change the channel here, and as we can see, we have 32 different options. I really like channel number 9. Set it up, and this is ready to control other flashes. It's as simple as that. With these values, if we want to change any one of these values, we just select the group and then we select the power or the exposure compensation, or we can turn it off completely. And this is how you set this flash as a master. Let's imagine that we want this to work as a slave. Well, we just press this button again, and we can see the word slave. The light on the screen is now orange instead of being green, and we can see a few things that we can set up, but not a lot. We can now set the channel. You can change it to whatever we need. We also have 32 options. As I mentioned before, I like channel 9. And you can select the group this flash will belong to. And we have 3 options, A, B, or C. Another thing that you can set up is the zoom. Again, from 14 to 133. But we cannot choose the power setting, because that will come from the controller or from another flash in master mode. And these are some of the most useful features of the Godox TT685. Just one thing, as you can see, this is not labeled as a Godox TT685. It is actually a Flashpoint Zoom TTL. This is because I bought this flash from Adorama, and they rebrand their Godox products with their own brand, Flashpoint. This is only to offer warranty within the United States. I really hope you find this video useful, and entertaining, informative of course, and if that is the case, please press the like button. If you'd like to keep up to date with this channel, of course, you should subscribe to the channel. But most importantly, please remember to keep learning and keep shooting. See you next week.